Right, good morning everyone and welcome to today's live lesson. As you know, any lessons or Q&As that we do usually are about grammar, little bits of grammar that you should perhaps have learned in your junior school but didn't for some reason or other. So anything that I always look at is something that's going to come up in your progression tests or indeed in your end of year exam, because they're very, very similar. They all have comprehension, a grammar section, and a writing section. Okay, so if you can get through your progression tests, fine. If there's little bits of grammar you don't know and feel you need to, you can let me know, and we can do a lesson on that at some point. So as I said, today we're going to look at writing a summary, because that is actually one of the most difficult things to do. Yeah, it takes a bit of time and a lot of thought. So let's take a look and see how that should be done. Writing a summary. Right, first of all, what's the purpose of a summary? Why do we do it? It's basically a shortened but accurate version of an article or extract which should be written in your own words. It should not include any of your own opinions or ideas. Okay, so it's just a shortened version of an article. What's going on there? Okay, short, accurate. Now, why must a summary be written in your own words? If you don't use your own words, you're using someone else's words, and this is known as plagiarism. Okay, that's quite a big sin in the academic world, because it means using other people's words or ideas without acknowledging them. If you acknowledge them, it's good, it's all fine and acceptable, but if you don't, that's a problem. Now, why is plagiarism unwise? If you're stealing someone else's ideas or words to make the reader think they're yours in order to get better marks, don't be too sure that people don't know. There's a lot of very sophisticated plagiarism detection tools that you get nowadays. So somebody's going to find out about it sooner or later. You might have heard that at some universities, students have got to put their own essay through a plagiarism detection tool, and then they must submit the results of that at the back of their essay clipped onto it to prove that they wrote it themselves. So that can be done by anybody at any time. So try not to do that. How can you avoid plagiarism? You think, gosh, but I've got to say what the text is about. You just need to use a paraphrase. Okay, most of the summaries you will do is using a paraphrase to get out of being plagiaristic. Okay, if you were writing another essay, you would have to use quotation marks and acknowledge who had said it or why, where, etc. So don't worry about that at the moment. You're just going to be paraphrasing. Right, what on earth is a paraphrase if you've got to do it? It's when you change the original text into your own writing or words. Because firstly, it allows you to show understanding of the original work. And secondly, it allows you to put those ideas into your own work. Okay. The aim of paraphrasing is to change the words in the original text while keeping the same meaning. That's very, very important. Okay, why that's coming up. When you write a summary, you need to change the writer's words. Some words, obviously, you can't change, but generally, you have to try and change as many as you can. That's where your knowledge of synonyms is going to come into play. Your large vocabulary from reading very many articles is going to come into play. How to paraphrase? Basically, you need to use different wording to the original passage without altering the meaning. The meaning must stay the same. Okay, so you change words to synonyms if you can, or you change the word format. Remember we talked about nominalization last week? where you're changing verbs or adjectives to nouns, or second alternative is changing the word order, meaning you put the end of the sentence first, the opposite way around to what they've got, but of course it must make sense. So it's up to you to try and change that. So that's two ways to paraphrase: synonyms and changing word orders. Now, how many words should be in a summary? People worry about this because they're like, oh, if it's too short, it means you've missed some of the main points. If it's too long, you've put in unnecessary details that we don't need in a summary. So if there's no instruction to tell you, you write about 80 to 100 words, okay, at this level. That's all you need. And in fact, if you look at this next paragraph, how to go about writing a summary, that actually has about 100 words in it. Okay, so you can see that you're not going to be writing too much. A summary can be defined as a brief statement or account of the main points of a text. Okay, a brief statement about the main points in a text. Writing a good summary shows that you clearly understand the text and that you can communicate that understanding to someone else, to the examiner, to your reader. Okay? And this shows your reading comprehension and writing ability. And that's why they ask you to write a summary, to show your reading comprehension and your writing ability. So basically, you're getting points based on your ability. A well-written summary is an abbreviated, condensed, or shortened overview of the original article. A summary can be tricky to write at first because students often include details. They want to put in the details because they're very nice, but we don't need those. What we've got is an 8-step summary, which we'll look at just now, and this is going to help you summarize text quickly and successfully. And it's for any subject, not just English. You might need to do it when you're doing revision for history, geography, science, who knows? Okay. Summary, I'm going quite quickly. If you've got any questions, you can put them on your web chat there. Right, although most of the language in the summary depends on the content, there's some things that you're always going to have, which is a thesis statement. What's that? We're going to look at it just now. Maybe you might need some reminder phrases, depending on the subject. And transitional words or connectors to make your writing flow smoothly and make it more understandable. Okay? What is a thesis statement? A thesis statement is a short statement, usually one sentence only, that summarizes the main idea of a text. So it's the main idea of what that text is all about. All zoos should be banned. Something like that. That would be a thesis statement. Okay? Because we've summarized a whole passage with one sentence. If you can do that, it means you really understand what you've been writing. Now remember, we said it's an 8-step process. Normally when you're writing an essay, you start with this, an idea or your task. Then you start writing an introduction. Then you start writing some topic sentences. And then those topic sentences need some evidence or proof. So you put that in, and eventually you write a conclusion. But now when you're doing a summary, you do it the opposite way around. You say, look, this is details, examples, evidence. We don't need it in a summary. We need to find the main ideas, 3 main ideas, and an intro, and a concluding sentence. Okay? And that's what you're going to bring your summary down to. You're bringing it down to the bare basics. You don't want it all fluffed out with evidence and examples and stuff, because they're not important to the main idea. Remember, The summary is an abbreviated or shortened version of the whole text. Okay? Right, here is our 8-step summary. 8 steps in how to write a good summary. Number 1, read through the text and try to find the main points, which are usually topic sentences that are in there. You should be able to find them. So when you've read it once, you think about what the overall theme of the text is. What was that text about? Think to yourself, okay? Then you go on to your second reading of that thing, of that extract, and then you highlight, underline, or circle, whichever suits you best, these important main points. Another little aide-memoire to help you is think about the 5 W's. Who, what, where, why, and when. Okay? Some of them might apply, some of them might not apply. Depends on the subject. So you've read it once to find the main points and think about what's the main theme of that. You're reading it twice, highlighting or underlining these main points. The third step is you must ignore details, examples, or evidence, okay, because you're not going to put them in your summary. If there's anything you don't understand, make a note about it, maybe in a box, because then later you can go back to it and maybe you can make some inferences, infer what those parts mean. Okay. What's the next step? Number 4, take notes in your own words of the main points. Okay. You've got your note paper beside you. You're going to start with those main points and try to put them in your own words. This is when you paraphrase those main points into your own words. You're thinking of synonyms, you're thinking of how you can turn things around to make it different to the author's work. So you're not guilty of plagiarism. Right? So think how you can expand on the key point on your own and clarify any information that was difficult to understand in the first place. Now that you've read it about 3 times, you should be really getting into your head. Right, so you've done that now, and let's think about what's going to be the first sentence of that summary. Firstly, you need to develop a thesis statement, which is a 1-sentence summary that shows you understand what the author is talking about. Okay? And there, on those notes that you've just written, you've got the outline for the summary. You do not need to look at that text again because you've, like a detective, you've found the main points and you know what the whole thing's about. So you've got a thesis statement or first sentence. Okay? And now all you do is you're going to put all these things together. So step 6, start writing a draft using your own personal notes that you wrote. Therefore, there's definitely going to be no plagiarism. Your thesis statement can be used as the introductory sentence, while the other main points you chose will go into the body paragraph. So you've got that, and then once you've written those, think of some transition words or connectors to help with the overall structure and flow of the summary. Because it's also got to read nice and smooth and flowing so that your reader can understand it. And remember, do not add any comments or ideas of your own. You can't say, oh, that's wonderful, it's a great thing to do. No, unless the author said that, you cannot say that either. The summary must be objective and discuss only what the writer has talked about. Important things to remember. Number 7, write in the present tense. Present tense only. And never, ever, ever use the word I. It's nothing to do with you, so why would you be sticking I in there? It's written by someone else. You're going to rewrite what he's written in the present tense. You're going to be concise. You're going to stick to those main points. You're not going to waffle, you're no description, etc. It's just to make sure you've written the writer's story, what he's written about. Okay, so now you should have your notes in front of you, a semi-written summary with a thesis statement, the main points and sentences, and you're like, oh, I'm a bit short of words. I'm going to look at my connectors page, which we'll look at just now. Depending on the topic of it, you've got cause words, effect words, counter-argument words, example words, comparing words, additional words, contrast, importance words, alternatives, reinforcement, reminder words, and conclusion words, as well as your chronological words you can use first, secondly, etc., etc. We'll look at them in more detail just now. So you've got all your paperwork in front of you. You've got lists of words you can use to put together that summary. Because once you've done one or two, you'll be able to recognize and realize that there's certain words you can always use for joining words, joining sentences together, etc. Connecting them well, in other words. Right, and the final step is number 8. You are now ready to write the final summary. And when you finish that, check and edit your work. Reread the summary to make sure you've accurately represented the writer's main ideas. Check your spelling. Have you put in connectors? All these things give you extra points. And maybe you need extra points because you totally misunderstood a comprehension, or you didn't write the correct thing in your writing. So you need to get as many points as you can. So if you can do a summary in these 8 steps, there you're giving yourself 5 or 10 extra marks. Because if you can't do it, you're going to get 0. Okay, that's the alternative. So let's look at it briefly again. 8-step summary. Read through the text and try to find the main points. Highlight or underline or circle these important main points. If you're still puzzled, think about the 5 W's. Who was that about? What was it about? Where did it take place? When did it happen? Why did it happen? Not all of those 5 will might not appertain to that particular text, but some of them will. And that should help clarify your thoughts to yourself. What was it about? Why was it written, etc. Remember, you must ignore any details or examples or evidence, so you can actually score those out if you want. See, and you're left with the ones you've highlighted, underlined, or circled. An important one, anything you don't understand, also try to make it stand out, stick it in a box or something, because maybe you can infer something about it by and by, okay? And so you reread that text again until you feel confident you know what the text is about. So you might have to read it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, but not any more than that, I'm sure. Right. Now, you must take notes in your own words of those main points. Then see if you can paraphrase the main points. Remember, paraphrasing using synonyms or putting things in different order, nominalization, etc. Then, have you got a thesis statement? Have you decided the one sentence that the summary is all about? That text was all about what in one sentence? That really clarifies the thoughts. Then you've got your outline for the summary. Your notes are in front of you. You can start writing a draft summary. Don't squeeze it all up together. You could actually write it in a couple of lines. Write, oh, there's my thesis. There's my first main point, second main point, third main point, maybe a concluding sentence. Okay? In between those lines that you've left in your notes, this is your notes, you are going to try and fill in any blanks with transition words. Transition words and connectors. You should have lists of them from before. If you haven't, I'm going to send this document out to you if you let me know you need it. Okay. Remember, don't add any comments or ideas of your own, only this, exactly what the author has said. Write in the present tense in a summary and never use the word I. Nothing to do with you, it's to do with someone else, the author's writing. And now, once you've done that lot, you've got your notes with lines missing, so you can stick in connector words to make your writing look good. This is when you try and write the final summary. And when you finish that, check and edit your word. Okay, somebody's asked me for it already. I will send it to you. I hope you got the last one I sent. Right. So that is your 8-step summary of how to write a proper summary. Okay, the 8-step summary. Right, we've looked at connectors. You might have a couple on. Right, someone else wants a copy. I will send that to you as well. Right, and now we have got some summaries here. We've got a summary of Macbeth, a summary of Avatar, a summary of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and a summary of The Princess Bride. Right, somebody, third person, yes, I will send that to you as well. No worries, then you've got them for future reference. And The Princess Bride. Some of these are your literature books, so you really need to know what they're about. So if somebody wants to write on that chat there, what one you want me to read first? We might have time to read 2 or all of them. What should we start with? Summary of Macbeth, Avatar, the movie, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or The Princess Bride. All right, somebody's got Avatar in there already, so we're going to look at that one first. A whole movie, right down to 1 paragraph, okay? Let's look at it briefly. When his brother is killed in a robbery, paraplegic Marine Jake Sully decides to take his place in a mission to the distant world of Pandora. On the lush alien world of Pandora live the Na'vi, beings who appear primitive, but they're actually highly evolved, much more intelligent than mankind. Because the planet's environment is poisonous, human Na'vi hybrids called avatars must link to human minds to allow for free movement on Pandora. Okay, so you can't really jump up out into this planet. You've got to have an avatar to do that for you. Jake becomes mobile again through one such avatar and falls in love with a Na'vi woman. As a bond with her grows, he's drawn into a battle for the survival of her world. Why? What's going to happen to it? I'm sure it's something to do with man. The themes in Avatar are the destruction of land and people for their natural resources that are on that planet, and the invasion of a country for greed and profit. Isn't that what man does on Earth? Tries to get into the Amazon forest or some other natural resource. And why is he doing it? Not for the good of people or the planet, but for greed and profit. So the sub-theme of environmentalism runs throughout that movie. And when you look at it now, that movie is 10 years old. But I don't think man ever changes, does he? Okay, so that's Avatar, a summary of that movie. And we're now going to look at Macbeth. Yeah, you can write it on the web chat before. I'll look at it after we read Macbeth. Right, here's Macbeth. A brave Scottish general named Macbeth receives a prophecy from 3 witches that one day he will become the King of Scotland. This reflects his own secret ambition to become king. So did they read his mind or what? Encouraged by his wife, Lady Macbeth, who is also ambitious for power, Macbeth murders the king King Duncan, and he blames the king's guards. And then he quickly kills them before they can deny it. Okay, so the poor guards got the blame for killing King Duncan. Who finds this body? Another general named Macbeth. So then Macbeth takes the Scottish throne for himself, but he's racked with guilt and paranoia because he's forced to commit more and more murders to protect himself from everyone he sees as enemy, anyone who is suspicious. Let's just kill them because they're going to come and take the throne away from me. I don't really know who they are, but I'll just kill them. Because suspicions start playing on your mind and you don't know what's real and what's false. Therefore, he soon becomes a tyrannical ruler. He's a tyrant. He's a despot. He's a dictator. And Macbeth murders anyone he sees as a potential rival, including Macduff's wife and children. How on earth can they be a rival? The bloodbath and consequent civil war swiftly take Macbeth and Lady Macbeth into the realms of madness, and she dies. So they become crazy because they become paranoid, thinking everyone is after them, everyone's out to get them. Macbeth confronts the opposing army, safe in the knowledge that, as one of the witches predicted, no man born of woman can kill him. What on earth does that mean? No man born of woman? Does that mean it came out of a test tube or what have you? But then, when he starts fighting Macduff, Macduff tells Macbeth that he was born by caesarean section. Okay, so a woman truly did not give birth to him. She had a caesarean section to get the baby out, and that's how Macduff was born. So Macbeth then knows, uh-oh, I'm a goner, because he's the only person that can now kill me, because he's no man born of woman. So he is slain and killed by Macduff. And after that, King Duncan's son Malcolm becomes the rightful king of Scotland, and the normal balance of society is restored. And that's generally what happens when dictators are overthrown, unless another dictator takes his place, of course. There's just a little piece of trivia. In the theatre world, most actors believe the play is cursed because bad things have happened to some actors that have played Macbeth. So they don't say the title aloud. They just say, oh, we're going to do the Scottish play next week. Anyway, there's a whole summary of Macbeth, which could be of interest to you. And hopefully that will help you understand Macbeth a lot better for those who've been reading it. Okay. If you've any other questions or anything, let me know. I'm going to send the paperwork to those people who've asked for it. Okay. And thank you very much all for joining in today. Hopefully I'll see you next week. Thanks very much for coming. Our time is up. Goodbye. Have a nice weekend.